All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with my co-host for today, Stango, and we are going to be ranking Edison's most relevant normal summons. These are basically the best normal summons in Edison, but there are some rules. So we are not including hand traps, so no DD Crow, no Herald of Orange Light, no Honest, no Colute. While they are amazing normal summons sometimes, like you can obviously use Icarus attack with DD Crow, you could Synchro with Herald of Orange Light, you can set Honest with the 1900 butt, and you can use Colute to search for Whirlwind and all that stuff. That's not what they're primarily good for, so I didn't want to really include them in this list. So hand traps are just kind of off the list. Just know that Honest and Colute are both insane cards, and that goes without saying. And then the last one is tribute summons are just not included at all. So we didn't include anything from things that you could tribute for. However, Stango and me both agree that it would just be Caius, right? Like Caius is just the one. So yeah,
I don't know, man. Tiva, they can't attack. When you tribute summon him, they can't attack.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about random tribute summons like, you know, sure, Prime Material and Genzo are okay and like Rise is okay and all that, but at the end of the day, like it would just be Caius on this list. So I was talking to James Ark earlier today, and me and him are going to do a separate video to debate on what we think is the absolute best normal summon in Edison format. The conversation came up because in his last video, so check out his channel if you haven't already, James Ark the Professor, his channel, he was talking to Mark Carice, and Mark had brought up that he thought Machina Gearframe was the best normal summon in the format, and then Armageddon was up there too. And I don't think that either one of those are even top 5. I think that Gearframe is definitely good. A lot of people tend to compare it to Stratos, which I hate that because I feel like the only reason that's really happening is because they both have 1800 and are 4-star monsters and they search. But like what they functionally do is so different from each other. Stratos is on another level. Like Gearframe is cool, but Gearframe is not on the same level as Stratos. I don't think it's close, right? The decks that are enabled by Stratos and the decks that are enabled by Gearframe are just actual tier lists apart. But me and James agreed that the two best normal summons are between Stratos and Substitute in the entire format. Out of all of these cards here, so there are 34 different normal summons on the screen, and we're going to tier all of them. The reason why the tier list is set up like this is it's going from S+, S, S-, A, and B. We didn't want to include anything that's below like a B tier normal summon, because at that point, it's just probably not even good. It really shouldn't even be played. If you're playing a normal summon that is below B tier, I feel like, why are you playing that? Because normal summons are already kind of sketch if they're not insane. So like, why would you be playing something in the C tier? So yeah, all of these normal summons are really good cards if you notice. Like every single one of them in some way, shape, or fashion is good. But then within them being good, there has to be some that are above the others. So right off the bat, S+ is going to be Substitute and Stratos. I don't care which way these two are placed in terms of like which one is better than the other, but yeah, these are the two S+ for sure, no question. And me and James will do a video separately to just he's going to do like his own type of, I guess, normal summon tier list type of thing as well. But then me and him are going to have a discussion in that video about Stratos versus Substitute. So I don't want to do that right now, but I just want to get it out there that obviously these two are just S+. I think they're beyond ridiculous and pretty much at any point in the game. And to give kind of like a small little synopsis of why, I guess, because we should still do that part. Stratos just enables a lot of the best decks in the format. We're at a point where Edison is literally Miracle Fusion decks, and then you got your like Soroko value decks. Stratos enables all of the Miracle Fusion decks. I don't think that heroes would really be playable without Stratos in the format. Like I think every hero deck would just really be shit if Stratos wasn't in the format. So that's one. Also, there are more copies of Stratos than there are of pretty much anything else, right? Stratos has himself, Reinforcement of the Army, 3 e-calls. They all search him out. So there are 5 copies of Stratos effectively in the format. And even when people compare it to like Gearframe, which I still think is incorrect to do, but like Gearframe, there are 3 of it, right? And it's cool that there are multiple Gearframes in the sense that, oh, you can summon Gearframe turn 1 and you can also summon Gearframe turn 2, but still, like there are more copies of Stratos technically. And that does matter in Edison format. Like consistency is the reason why Diva Hero B is one of the absolute best decks in the format, why Diva Hero is one of the best decks in the format, and why Hero Frogs are one of the best decks in the format. Whereas anything that's playing Gearframe, there's no S tier deck playing Gearframe. Like, let's be clear. There's not a single S tier deck in the format playing Gearframe. So Stratos is in like several S tier decks. He also randomly has an effect to pop too. Like that's just crazy that he can do more than just search. which is another thing that kind of separates him from Gearframe too. And then in the case of Substitute, I think it goes without saying, but this card is not once per turn. So it's one of the last cards that Konami made that is absolutely unhinged with the whole like not once per turn thing. Thinning your deck out by 10 cards is insane. It being a 1-star means it's searchable with 1-for-1. It being a water monster is really good typing for things like salvage. It having a really big butt is a really big deal too. And I think that at every point of the game, Substitute is ridiculous. Like turn 1, Substitute is ridiculous. And then turn 2 and onward, especially after you get Treeborn Frog set up or you have Soul Exchange or Brain Control or whatever, Econs, all that. Substitute is just outrageous at what it actually does to the game state. Everyone knows about the dupe lock. It's all possible because of Substitute. And yeah, so that card is also just nuts. Okay, so now that we got those two S tiers out of the way, S plus tiers, the top of the top, what do you want to tier next, Dango? Pick a card.
Let's talk about Alias.
Okay. Yeah, because this is an interesting one, right? So where would you put Alias in this format?
So I think where I would put Alias, honestly, would probably be pretty much at S tier.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of reasons why. So he has the same syndrome where he's enabled by Stratos and just all the searchable ways that you can get him out. We were actually talking before the video even started. If you think about all of Alias attributes, not even like I'm talking about him being light, I'm talking about his attributes, his attack, his typing, his star count, like him being a warrior, a light, a Gemini, and searchable by Stratos and eCall and Rhoda is like broken insane.
Yeah.
He has a lot of versatility in how you can use your aliases. And one point that I wanted to kind of make about the guys in S plus tier is that I think what makes the normal summon good because of how tempo heavy Edison format is, if you're behind in tempo, it's so hard to call back because special summoning for the most part is very rare. Your normal summons that also can be used as a resource in the graveyard are really, really important. So the thing with Stratos and Substitute Miracle Fusions, like after Stratos like does his work, you know, kind of the comparison to Gearframe, like after he does his work, he searches his monster, he pops a back row. He also, you know, he's the gift that keeps on giving in the graveyard. You draw a Miracle Fusion, you can use a Stratos for.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That these monsters, Alias and Stratos, once they're in the grave, they still do more in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hero Blast is huge. Miracle Fusion is huge. Alias, like you said, he definitely has the absolute best overall stats. He's light, 1900, a warrior, a Gemini, a normal monster. So like everything about him is, he's a hero. So like, everything about him is just an insane, and I know it's weird, right? Because Alias, you look at him, most people just say, oh, Alias is a vanilla. But like how many times have you played against Hero Beat and gotten absolutely demolished by that deck? It's an S tier deck. It's one of the best decks in the format. I think in War League, it performed the best overall. Yeah, it's a very relevant deck, and it wouldn't be if Alias wasn't the way it's set up. Like if it didn't have all of those stats in line for it, where you could Gemini Spark it, you could Hero Blast it, you can use Honest with it, you could search it with Stratos, you could search it with eCall, you could search it with Rhoda. It's just everything about Alias is nuts. So
Alias is like multifaceted in so many different ways, where he's impactful in so many different directions. And I think one of those big pluses, like I was saying, like once Alias is said and done, like he's left the field, he's the gift that keeps on giving. Like you can Hero Blast them back, you can use them on Miracle Fusion, you know, for Miracle Fusion material. It's a really big thing that you can recycle the normal summons. They're not just like, oh, I normal summoned and then it left the field, so my tempo is like all ruined. No, the best normal summons can be used for resources for later parts in the turn, and
yeah,
we'll see that be a frequent theme throughout the normal summons that actually come up here.
Yep. So next one I want to do is Lonefire Blossom, which I think is also an S tier normal summon, but I want to put an asterisk next to its name. So Lonefire is S tier if Titanial is in your deck. If Titanial is in your hand, I think Lonefire is just straight up B tier because it doesn't search shit outside of Dandelion. And like at the point in the format where we are right now, using your turn to go Lonefire, Tribute, Summon, Dandelion, and Defense Mode pass is cheeks. Like that shit is not good right now. So maybe in 2010, like you could get away with stuff like that and it'd be fine. But if your opening is Lonefire, Dandelion, I'm just like, oh, okay, so you have Titanial in your hand or you don't play it. I don't care which, because Titanial's not on the field. But if you put Titanial on the field, she can just solo decks. One of the decks is frogs. Like Titanial is insane versus frogs. It's not a secret. But she's also just insane versus pretty much everything. Every deck has something that targets. Every deck kind of has a problem with dealing with Titanial in a way, especially if she's coming with back row. And the fact that Lonefire goes into a 2800 monster off of a normal summon is unhinged ridiculous. So Lonefire is really, really, really good. And I think it would be ridiculous to not include it as an S tier. And like a lot of these things are going to be ranked really high because that's kind of the point of the video. But we just want to separate them within them all being pretty damn good, right? Like, I don't really think there are many bad things on this list.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much totally agree with everything in that. And, you know, another thing that kind of goes into it, it's a lot more minor outside of the, you know, Miracle Fusion comparison. But like Lonefire does have a purpose kind of in the graveyard a little bit. Like, you usually bring it back from debris and make synchros.
Yeah.
You can banish it with Black Rose Dragon.
Yep, that's true. You could also just use it for pot of avarice speed because it, you know, Lonefire goes into Lonefire and then it goes into an actual plant. So that's like 3 monsters contributing to pot.
Yeah, so like it's kind of still in that same vein. Not nearly as strong, like, you know, objectively, but it has that same, you know, spirit in it where it's like once it leaves the field, it's not just that's the end of it. That's all the value you get out of the card.
Right, I agree. Okay, so next up, I want to do Spirit Reaper. So I think Spirit Reaper is a solid like B. This card, it's pretty much only really played in zombies and value turbo sometimes. While I do think Spirit Reaper has some merits to it, one of them being that if you summon a Spirit Reaper and your opponent has a back row, they are going to use their back row on Spirit Reaper. And it could be anything. It could be Mirror Force or Torrential. They are going to activate it. And I love that it can force an interaction. But just overall impact in the format and like how good I think it is, I think it's solid. But look at what's above it, and like some of the things that you're going to see that are above it are just going to make sense and where we tiered it. But I think Spirit Reaper is a solid like B tier normal summon. It's not crazy. Like no one's like, oh my god, Reaper. You know, most people don't get soloed by a Reaper. In Edison, there are a lot of outs to it. And the whole hand ripping thing is great, but again, it's not like the craziest. Also, sometimes it's a liability randomly that it's even, you know, in attack mode. So yeah, Reaper, solid B tier. I think another S tier is Swap Frog. So for me, personally, Swap Frog is kind of in the same tier as Substitute and Stratos. And that's for a couple reasons. And it's kind of like using modern Yu-Gi-Oh bias here because Swap Frog was recently played in actual modern Yu-Gi-Oh, which I think is a crazy thing about it. But Swap Frog in Edison format, in the context of Edison, being able to special summon it, so it's a normal summon, but it comes with a special summon ability, just like Graffer. And then it also has another effect to bounce cards for cost, which is insane. And then it gives you an extra normal summon on top of it. And then on top of that, it sends a card from your field or deck to the grave, usually just Treeborn Frog, but it can also send, if you have Miracle Fusion and you just want to send a fodder frog or something to the grave, you can also do that. Swap Frog is nuts. Bouncing Monarchs and reusing them, bouncing Stratos, reusing Stratos, like the fact that it's water, the fact that it's 2 stars for Junk Synchron, it's on the same level of like Alias in terms of its stats are incredible. Like you look at all of its attributes and stats and stuff like that, and Swap Frog is just nuts. And on top of it having effectively like 4 effects, right? You can special summon it. It sends a thing from the field or deck. It bounces, and that's a cost. Like bouncing something back to your hand is a cost, and then also extra normal summon. Those are basically 4 different effects technically. So yeah, Swap Frog being a monster that has that much versatility, it's also at 3. 1,000 attack power, so you get it back with salvage and stuff like that. It's incredible. Like the card is absolutely insane. I think that turn 1 specifically, because I think that where this differs from Substitute, and this is where Substitute kind of wins, in the middle of a game, a top deck Swap Frog isn't as powerful as a top deck Substitute. Like I'm sure if you've played against frogs at any point, you know that there are games where you might have them kind of on the ropes, and then they draw Substitute, and they just do a crazy Substitute play, and now all of a sudden, the frog player has dupe blocked you, or put you in a situation where they have like flip-flop frog and dupe frog and you can't attack and you know that you're about to start losing advantage really fast, even though you were in a winning position beforehand, where Swap Frog doesn't do that. Like it'll put your Treeborn in the grave, but if you already took a Stratos and Alias attack, if your turn is summon Swap Frog, send Treeborn pass, you could potentially be dead next turn. So Swap Frog is slightly worse, but turn 1, what I love about Swap Frog is that you normal summon it, you send Treeborn. And when you bounce it and pass to your opponent, they do whatever they do on their turn 1, but then when it passes back to you, you effectively have 8 cards because you have the 6 that you started with, and then you bring back Treeborn and you drew another card for your second turn. So your opponent has 6 cards typically on turn 1, on their first turn, and then you draw for turn and you just have 8. And that shit is so unfair. And that's one of the reasons why Frogs is actually one of the best decks in the format. Is like, if the Frog deck goes first, it has 8 cards on turn 2, 80% of the games, because it opens up Treeborn Frog access 80% of the game. So that is really, really, really nuts. On top of everything else already named about the damn card, it's just really broken.
Yep. I think just overall, the main thing is that like Substitute and Stratos, they do the more simple and basic thing, but they're extremely broken. And like Swap Frog has a really high ceiling of so many different things it can do.
Yeah.
With bouncing the cards and doing the extra normal summons, and also just being a 1,000 attack beater that can get on their bottomless. It just it's a really solid normal summon, and it functions to the play style of the deck really well, where it's like Swap Frog is a good alternative when like the opponent doesn't play into the Frog player's field where they're going to get Monarch and stuff. He's like, okay, you're not going to set up cards on the field. I'm just going to attack with Swap Frog. Treeborn's already in the grave. If you want to deprison Swap Frog, by all means, like, you're not bothering me if you're doing that.
Yeah.
He's already done his job.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's get something in A tier. So I think DD War Lady is a solid A tier. She's not crazy by any means, but I do like that it doesn't really matter what she's battling outside of the random DD Survivor that only one deck really would be playing. But if she battles anything else in the format, all the boss monsters, Absolute Zero, and everything else that's running the format right now, she doesn't care. She's banishing that shit and going about her business. Her stats are pretty good. She's a warrior. She's light. So there's like tricks and stuff with her with Honest, and like you can search it off a Shining Angel. She has all these good things going for her. I obviously would not put her in a tier with the S characters and all that, but I think that she is a pretty solid card. And it's at 3. So like decks that run DD War Lady, they can run multiples. She combos really well with Dimensional Alchemist. And in general, I think that it's just a solid card. And that's kind of what A tier is kind of like the really, really, really solid ones that aren't quite as overpowered, because everything in the S tiers is going to be kind of overpowered, especially given certain situations. But that's their point, is like they're just kind of the best normal summons in the format. Speaking of which, we can move on to this guy. Blizzard is one of the best cards in Edison format, like period. The fact that it is a monster that turns into Bryonic, which is the actual like best monster in the entire fucking format. It turns into it with just itself essentially, and then it also turns into Goyo Guardian. It can also turn into Cataster or Android, and all these other things. Right? Blizzard is just insane. It can bring back Gale, and Gale then has priority to half. The monster it brings back has its effects. There are no restrictions on it whatsoever. It's at 3. It's searchable technically. It's dark. It's 2 stars. It gets on the bottomless trap hole. It's Wing Beast. I cannot say enough things about how ridiculous Blizzard is. Like, it is.
You didn't say the most ignorant thing. It chain blocks. It's one of the only consistent chain blockers in the whole format that gets around oppression.
Yeah, technically, like if you have Whirlwind and Blizzard, you can chain block. They can't even stop it with Herald of Orange Light or Oppression or anything else. So there's a lot that makes this card unhinged. I also have it in, there's going to be a separate video that I want to do where it's focusing on the best top decks in the format. And I'm just going to give you a little spoiler alert for that video, but Blizzard is in the top 5 of best top decks in Edison format. It is, just think about the number of times you played against Blackwings, which I do consider to be the best deck overall. Blackwings has those situations come out where they beat you down really fast, because that's what it does. And then you get to a point where you start counting the number of cards that your Blackwing opponent could have that will end the game on the fucking spot. You're like, oh God, please don't have this right here. And a lot of the times you count all of the blizzards that are not visible, right? Like you immediately say, okay, if he has any blizzards that are not visible to me right now, I'm going to lose the game. So Blizzard, every time I play against Blackwings, I'm always thinking like, all right, this play is good, but if I pass and he has Blizzard, I actually just lose. And then they just summon Blizzard because they fucking played 3 of it. And it's like, yeah, they had it the whole time, or they even top decked it. It doesn't matter because again, it's at 3. You can't complain too much about a 3 of. And the card just does what it wants. It's fucking taking your Caius with Goyo Guardian. It's summoning Brio and pitching values and Sorokos and OTKing you out of nowhere. Like, it's making Cataster against your Machina Fortress. It's doing the most. It does the absolute most. Even just bringing back a monster in defense mode and then setting Icarus attack. That +1 that you get from just summoning it, like bringing back value, set Icarus attack, pass. That could just be so ridiculous. So yeah, Blizzard's an S tier for sure. And then below it, I would say, are things like Junk Synchron is really high up there, and so is Debris Dragon in terms of just power level. Debris Dragon, I'm going to put it a little higher than Junk Synchron, of course. It goes into Black Rose Dragon. That is one of the best synchros in the format. Black Rose is at 1, and thank God, because if it wasn't, Debris Dragon would actually probably be S plus tier, like not even kidding. It's funny, when I first got an Edison format last year, I immediately was wondering, oh, how come this guy isn't playing like 2 Black Rose Dragons? Because this card seems broken to just summon multiple times. And then I realized, it's on the ban list, it's on 1. But yeah, Debris Dragon is nuts. It brings back, typically, you can bring back like Dandelion, you get tokens and all this other stuff, especially the way it resolves. You get the tokens after Black Rose goes off. Even just bringing back things like White Stone of Legend and Dragon Turbo, which is also like creeping up as one of the best decks in the format. The Debris Dragon is played in triplicate in that deck. It's a card to continents target, which is relevant. It gets under Bottomless. It brings back a monster, and that monster could be as simple as Ryko in something like a quick draw deck or any other Ryko Kaya's Hamster deck. And it can make Iron Chain Dragon and stuff like that. So your normal summon is now becoming a 2500 monster, or it's becoming a Stardust, or a Red Dragon Archfiend.
Or just Trident Dragon. If you upstart them 3 times and you're like, I need a little bit more damage.
Yeah.
So like, let me just summon Trident Dragon with Instant Fusion.
Yeah, that's also true. You could just summon Trident Dragon, not with Instant Fusion, but with
oh right, yeah.
Prime Material.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a 6-star. But the point is that this does make Trident Dragon, which is an OTK card every time it touches the field. You never summon it otherwise. But yeah, Debris nuts. Junk Synchron, same thing. Junk Synchron really does shine in the Frog deck. There's even people who just play Junk Frogs, which I think is blatantly worse than Hero Frogs. I think that the metrics, like if you look at just decks that do well at tournaments, Hero Frogs is very clearly better. But Junk Synchron is played in Hero Frogs as a one-of, and I really like it as a one-of because you also play Reinforcement in the Army in that deck, so you technically have 2. You don't need to summon it multiple times, but just summoning it the one time is typically good enough. And the tricks that you can do in the Frog deck specifically, where you bring back Swap Frog, and then Swap Frog priority can bounce Junk Synchron to your hand. And so that's like blocking for you. And then on top of that, you have Treeborn blocking for you. So it can make it really difficult for your opponent to get through. And if they don't kill the Swap Frog, then it gets really bad on the following turn, because then you can just bounce the Swap Frog to your hand and make it a real Swap Frog, or you can bounce other things, summon the Junk Synchron, bring back something else, and it just gets out of hand really quick. Also, the fact that Junk Warrior randomly can just OTK. A lot of people don't see the lines, but there's videos dedicated to just OTKing with Junk Warrior alone, like nothing else. Just do you see lethal with Junk Synchron? And Junk Warrior, you special Swap Frog, and you normal summon Junk Synchron, you make Junk Warrior, and then he comes out at a minimum of 3,300 for Swap Frog being on the field, and then also Junk Warrior gets effect and everything, and if you have Treeborn, it's even stronger, and every other frog will make him bigger and bigger. So yeah, Junk Synchron is nuts. Also another card that gets on the Bottomless. It's a warrior, it's a dark, amazing stats overall, like everything about it. But just blatantly, both of these, they kind of are all versions of the same thing. Like Blizzard, Debris, and Junk are all basically the same card technically, but Blizzard is just the unhinged version of these two, and it's in the better deck overall.
They're like a sliding scale. Like Blizzard overall has a bigger power level.
Yeah, it doesn't have restrictions on what you can bring out either, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that's the most messed up part about it. And I think to comment more on Junk Synchron, just like how Frogs have had a few different arcs of like their improvement with the deck overall, Junk Synchron, I personally think, was the sole reason that Frogs even came back into the meta during its first arc.
Yeah.
Like Frogs were played a little bit, and then they just kind of got staled out because the metas just started getting too fast for Frogs. And then like with some deck optimizations with Junk Synchron thrown into it, it gave the deck more of a mid-range play that it can do besides just normal summon Monarch and do things like that. So I think the fact that he was one of the first pieces of the puzzle that put Frogs back on the map, I think that alone speaks to the power level and why he should be rated that high.
Yeah, Junk is nice. It's really good. All right, so let's move on. I want to do all the gadgets. All of the gadgets are just B tier. I don't necessarily think that gadget decks are trash or anything like that. I think that if built correctly, the deck could totally be viable. And as you've seen at some of these tournaments this year, gadgets have actually topped, I think, at least twice now, maybe 3 times this year. The thing is that it's not well represented. Pretty much no one plays it because the ceiling of the deck is very low. But it does do something really cool, which is every monster just inherently has Black Whirlwind built into them. But I don't think that no one would say that, gadgets are like anything higher. I feel like they're just B tier. They're not crazy. They're not outrageous. And I feel the same way about like Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato, when I first came to Edison format, was considered like a really, really good card and everything because zombies, and maybe like searching militias and stuff like that, Sangan. But now where we are in Edison, where Deep Prison is the factual most played card in the entire format, Tomato becomes a lot worse because attacking with it is a liability in itself. Like people will Deep Prison this every single time it declares an attack. And then getting people to attack into it is also hard because you know what I mean? Like,
so the problem is that everyone's too hurt nowadays.
Yes.
People don't attack into unknown monsters anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to say, you flip it up and you show me. Show me what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not attacking into it. It's a fucking hamster.
Yeah. Everyone's afraid of hamster and just other things like attacking a pyramid turtle or whatever. And I guess even Tomato was in that conversation too of like, I don't want to attack this. Because if I do, it's going to turn into
players of Edison format have trust issues built up by all these recruiters because they were pretty popular like in the last year and a half, like a year and a half ago, especially when zombies were like running really, really rampant.
Yeah.
It's just like recruiters are just like they're not the bee's knees anymore. Like people just simply will not attack into things. They'll be like, okay, well, if it's hamster, you're gonna flip it anyway.
Yep.
And if it's a recruiter, that's fine because if you don't clear my bigger monster, because almost every meta deck plays monsters that are 100% bigger than all the recruiters. It's like you're going to get Caius next turn, so you better do something with that before it gets, fucked out here.
Yeah. So, and they're also bad against one of the best engines in the format, which is the Hamster Ryko Caius engine. Like all recruiters get ruined by specifically Hamster Ryko Caius, right? Like that whole train, every part of that fucks on recruiters. Like, so if the Tomato attacks a face down, it's like, okay, if it's hamster,
take 400, you get popped, you get Caius afterwards. Right. If I don't. Yeah, like it's just too much.
Yeah, everything about them gets soloed by the whole Hamster Ryko Caius. And because we're still in technically a Hamster Ryko Caius format in a way, like a lot of people still play that engine, it keeps all recruiters kind of at bay. Now, what I will say, I think that Shining Angel is actually slightly higher tiered just because it's a bit harder to deal with Shining Angels and Nova Summoners like in the same. These are basically the same card. I guess this is like a little worse because it searches less things, but it puts them in defense mode, but still a little worse. But like Shining Angel, being able to just crash, go into another monster, and then drop Christia is really, really big. And I think it just warrants it being slightly higher than Tomato because this is a win condition at that point, right? Like,
yeah, I think the biggest difference of like a thing like Tomato or Pyramid Turtle. Which I realized that we
Turtle would be in B tier though. I still think Turtle's worse than just like Shining Angel.
The difference of like Tomato and Turtle and Nova Summoner, I guess we'll just say, but really Tomato and Turtle, they're like engine searcher pieces in a way where it's like you're not really setting or crashing them to like build the win condition of your deck. They're like it's kind of like a combo piece in a way where it's like I need this Mystic Tomato to die by battle because I need to search, Goblin Zombie, or I need to search Sangan, or I need my Plague on the field. Like, I need something to be converted from this versus the Shining Angel. It's like, well, you will deprison my Shining Angel if I try to go crash, but if you don't have deprison...
Yeah, the game just falls apart.
Yeah, like, if you don't have deprison, then I'm going... Shining Angel, crash ×4, get Honest, summon Christie, bounce Honest to my hand, go next. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
literally
that's the difference of the power level of the cards is that they functionally are waiting for the same result to happen. Like, I want you to kill my guy, but Tomato's like kind of like a combo searcher where it's like I need a different part of my deck to like make a play.
Yep.
Versus Shining Angel can make a play by itself depending on its hand.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yep.
So I want to tier two of the most popular cards in the format. So I'm going to put both of these in S tier. I think that anyone doing a tier list like this, you should not have one in a tier above the other, in my opinion, because they just go together. Like it's a bit ridiculous to try to be like, oh, well, Hamster's better because when it flips, blah, 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 like people running into it, whatever. Or like Ryko's better because, without the Ryko, then there's no Hamster at all. I get it, right? Like I get all these different arguments that you could try to make, but at the end of the day, I just see them as one package. They come together. They are literally...
Well, yeah, this is my idea. Is like, why are you playing either of these and not the same deck? You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
just like I think we've gotten to the point in Edison format where it's like no one's playing raw Rykos anymore with just
Yeah,
charge.
that's true.
Like I think everyone's figured out it's like, okay, the ratio, however you want to kind of touch around with it, one hamster, 3 Ryko, 1 charge, and then maybe another Lightsworn search like Lila.
Yeah.
I think like that is the ratio. It's literally like a very, very tiny engine, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's just like it doesn't make sense to run one part of it and not the other.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. I feel like they are a package deal. At this point in Edison format, the decks are very refined. Value Turbo is as perfect as it's going to get, it seems like. The list that's been being played is essentially the same list for like...
It's like a year old.
It's a year plus old at this point. But they go together. And Hamster, Ryko, Caius, like that whole thing, it just goes together. You shouldn't be playing, honestly, Ryko without Hamster, and you obviously can't even play Hamster without Ryko. That's just nutty. So yeah, they're both insane. They both have their own merits. Like, yeah, sometimes it's nice to have the Hamster because your opponent actually did attack your face down and you're like, oh shit, you're a crazy person. Now I get to flip it and get a Ryko. But then sometimes you rather it just be Ryko. Like I have plenty of games actually where I'd rather it just be Ryko so I can get the instant pop and not have to flip and wait and then have this Hamster awkwardly in attack mode. So yeah, you've played enough Edison. You know exactly the situations I'm talking about where you actually rather have Ryko first and not Hamster and vice versa. So both of them have their merits. They're a package.
Sure, attack face down. Oh, it's a Hamster. Drop Kalut, get a guy, make a 7. And it's like, okay, go ahead and Ryko pop. My Arm Wing's going in the grave. I already have something else in the graveyard.
Yeah, and
you
could also
just gave me Dark Arm just now, by the way.
You could also go into value and just attack the face down, like the face down Ryko at that point too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot with these two, but at the end of the day, I think that they're solidly S tier because S tier monsters are typically, a lot of them are starters. If you look at them, like most of them outside of Blizzard, they're kind of like monsters that you want to open the game with. And I'd even argue that you don't mind opening with a Blizzard because it just means that, oh, okay, now if I Icarus attack, I know I'm getting my shit back. Or if my monster dies in battle or something, I know I'm getting my shit back. So yeah, but all of these are basically starter type of cards that you want to see in your opening hand. And you're like, okay, I'm not mad at seeing these in my opening hand. They kind of get my engine going. Is the way I feel about them. So I'm going to move this guy down a little bit just for the purposes of like normal summons or whatever. And these ones all being starters and this guy being like not necessarily a starter, but still he's ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. Anyway.
Yep.
Okay. So where we are in Edison format right now, I'm going to say that Sangan is actually in the B tier. This card isn't played in many decks. I think Diva Hero is like the only...
I feel like it's like Diva Hero and zombies. It's
sometimes
like a lot
zombies
of the
play it. Sometimes a lot of zombies don't play it though, like for sure.
Well, because it's too slow of a card, and I think that's the biggest problem with it is that it's like Sangan is in a vacuum. Sangan's amazing in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
Like he searches the perfect part of it, and like when we talk with like Cairo, a true hero, like Sangan fixes a lot of Diva Hero hands. It searches the water and it searches a hero and it searches tuners. It does everything because usually you'll draw with that kind of deck, you'll draw one side of it, but not the other.
Right.
And Sangan can fix that shit right up. The problem is that with Sangan, it's very similar to the same thing with the recruiters like Tomato and Turtle and such, where it's like, well, I need you to kill it. And it's like setting it face down. We already went over like people are hurt, people are scarred. We don't attack into stuff that we're not sure of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't like the unknown.
So it's just like there's a lot of vicarious situations that the Sangan can be where it's like, well, you don't really want your Sangan out there like assed out for too long because that's just Caius food. And that feels really bad to get your Sangan all Caius.
It's happened to me enough times. I hate that feeling for sure.
Yeah. I think that's just the biggest problem with it is that it's just the same thing like the recruiters where in a vacuum, what it does is really good and it moves the progression of the deck along. It just allows too much. Like if you look at the normal summons more up the list, these are normal summons that like you can actuate and put into the game where it's just like I don't need my opponent to enable my strategy. Like these normal summons either feed themselves or like they just don't care what happens. It's like I'm summoning this and it's doing its thing and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Sangan I think requires too much of a an input from the opponent to like for it to be considered anything better than like, B tier.
Yeah. So speaking of things that don't really need interaction from your opponent, this fucking thing.
Oh, look at that one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah, Deep Sea Diva is absolutely unhinged. This is definitely one of the absolute best. I'm just moving it up here, not necessarily because these are in any particular order, but I just Diva is nuts. So Diva Hero Beat, a deck that basically came out at the end of last year, maybe the beginning of this year. It has been steamrolling a lot of the meta. It's very, very strong. Everyone has to respect it. Everyone has to side deck for it, which also is the reason why this card is going to be in the S tiers. It's an S minus, but it's still high up there. But we'll talk about this in a second. Because of how good this is with Alias and Stratos and all of that, and just even in other decks like Zombies, Diva carries. She is literally Torgot, just printed earlier. She's gone through many different ban lists in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, so a lot of Konami knows that Diva is broken. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players know that Diva is broken. And in the context of Edison format, even turn 1, summoning Diva, get Galeman, make an android, which is one of the opening plays of Diva Hero Beat. That shit is so intimidating. It's so much pressure as early as turn 1. Like, you have to deal with that android. And it took them 1 card to make it. And then like every turn after that, they followed up with Stratos, or they followed up with Alias. Or in the case of Diva Hero, you might get OTK next turn. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong from just a Diva opening. And Diva, if your opponent has a normal summoned monster already on the field, like they just have a 4-star monster on the field and they summon Diva. Now you know that Brianna can come out. Now you know that they can go into Stardust or anything else. If they have Malicious Engrave or anything. Like, Diva just does the absolute most in this format. It is one of the best cards in the entire format. I think that there are more decks that will come out throughout Edison's life that play Diva and that are really, really good. The card is absolutely insane. There is even like people who still cape for Diva Frogs as one of the best decks. So yeah, Diva, crazy, crazy card. Combos perfectly with Salvage. It's water, so excellent typing there. The fact that you go into instant Catastor, instant Android, and then higher level synchros depending on what you have on the field. Like if you have a Kayach, you go into Dark End and all that. Card is broken. It's just broken.
Yeah, it does the same thing like I was talking about with the hero cards. Like it makes an immediate impact on the game when it gets summoned, and then it's the gift that keeps on giving when it's in the graveyard.
Yep.
Like, it's Miracle Fusion fodder. That's generally all the decks that Diva's really played in is Miracle Fusion type decks because of its typing and the fact that it gives many OTK lines to those decks.
Yeah, it does give a lot of, like, Zombies. If they have a Goblin Zombie in the field and they summon Diva, you might die.
Yep, you're taking 56? That's the normal line.
You take at least, so Brionic and Goyo by itself is 51. Like, just summoning
51.
Just summoning those two is 51 by itself. And then it could be more depending on what their hand is, like a Book of Life extension or a Zombie Master play where they discard Zombie Master, bring it back with Mizuki. Like, anything could happen.
My favorite part absolutely is you have a 4-star with Diva Beat. You have a 4-star monster on the field. If you took 100 points of damage, just 100.
Yeah.
You needed to be a tickle, a blow of the wind. You have a 4-star monster, you summon Diva, you have Miracle Fusion, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And I think what Diva also did to a lot of decks in the format, what it did for Diva Hero and what it did for Diva Hero Beat, is it makes them resilient to DD Crow, which used to be the most sided card in the entire format. Now it's pulling the rug. But the most sided card in the entire format used to be DD Crow, and that card was effective against decks that played Miracle Fusion before, because they would typically have like 1 water in the grave, sometimes 1 hero. But now if you think about the way Diva Hero Beat functions, Stratos is a hero that searches another hero. Diva is a water that searches another water. So instantly, the 2 main cards used for Miracle Fusions, they like make it where Crow is hard to do against them because there's usually going to be more than 1 of each side of the Miracle Fusion. There's going to be more than 1 water, guarantee, because Diva just goes into Gilman and Synchros and becomes 2 waters in the grave right there. And then Stratos, he'll die, and then Alias will get Gemini Sparked or whatever, and it'll be 2 heroes either on the field, Alias might be on the field or whatever, and then Stratos might be in the grave. If you Crow the Stratos and grave, it doesn't matter. I'll still fuse with the Alias, it's fine. So it makes Crow not really good against those decks. It makes them very resilient, and Diva is part of the reason for that. So yeah, anything that goes into a Synchro as 1 card is going to be pretty high. That's why if you notice, all of them are in S tier, right? Like anything that goes into a Synchro with just itself. So Diva, Blizzard, and then these 2, same thing, but they just go like they're a little bit more restricted in what they can do, but Diva's absolutely unhinged. You could use Diva on turn 1, and there are cases where, like, sometimes when I'm playing Hero Frogs, I'm like, man, if this Junk Synchron in my opening hand was Diva instead, the plays that I could do with 1-for-1 are just equally as strong, but then Diva's also, like, better a lot of the times. Just early on, like, if you don't have a setup, you could just go Diva, get Android. And I think that's a perfectly fine play in Edison format. Like, obviously, it's not the best, but doing that is so much pressure. So sometimes when I open up Junk Synchro, I'm like, man, I wish that this was like Diva. But yeah, okay. Another card, and I know there's a lot in S tier, but I'm sorry, but Fossil Dyna, this card is so outrageous. It just so, first of all, it solos frogs. Like, this is, in my opinion, a lot of people ask me this kind of question. I think that this is the absolute best card against frogs because of guaranteed damage and just how awkward it makes the frog deck have to play on its following turn immediately after it's on the field. And this is before we even get to the fact that you can set it and it does stuff when you set it too. But like Dyna stats, it gets on the bottom list, of course. It's 4 stars for whatever that's worth. The fact that it can come down in these decks that are beatdown decks that end the game pretty quickly, like YGO Turbo and Blackwings, when they summon Dyna, whatever they already had on the field, it's all coming in now. And it's guaranteed damage. There's no Battle Fader. There's no Gores. There's no Tragodia. They're getting in. And hopefully your life points are high enough to survive. And even when you survive, you now have to kill that Dyna to continue playing your game plan. So it does the absolute most. And that's just against like what it does against frogs. But it actually is really good against many of the decks in the format. It's one of the most popular side deck cards in the format now. I think people have finally caught on it. Like Dyna should pretty much be...
It's side deck warping. It's in every side deck.
Yeah.
Any deck that's good, it plays it. Any deck that can fit it literally plays it. There's no reason not to play Fossil Dyna. There's even ignorant parts of it as well, where it's like maybe decks that don't even necessarily need to play it, like Blackwings. It's just a good out to Consecrated Light. It just kills, problematic monsters and also just does annoying things against your opponent.
Yeah.
And I think the fact, because the meta, for a lack of a better word, not entirely, but is dominated by frogs and like other decks. But frogs is in contention of like, if you're entering a tournament and you want to do realistically well, like you need to have a plan for frogs. Fossil Dyna is literally a 1-card like solo. Like Junk Synchron was the newest card that has come out in the whole frog metagame outside of like the hero engine being added in a really efficient way that Frazier kind of like concocted. Junk Synchron was the best answer to Fossil Dyna, and that's not how you want to use your Junk Synchron.
Yeah, it's actually crazy that before I put Alias in the deck, that is how most people talked about dealing with Fossil Dyna. It's like, oh, your Junk Synchron, because like your Stratos is used very early. So a lot of times Fossil Dyna comes out. Fossil Dyna even still right now comes down after Stratos has already hit the field usually. And it's just like, yeah, this is annoying because I don't have my Stratos anymore. So people were talking about Junk Synchron as a way to out Fossil Dyna. And that shit just never sat well with me. Like having to use my Junk Synchron for that. Granted, that situation can still come up even right now. But now the deck has so many more ways to just beat over a Fossil Dyna that it makes it not as good as it used to be just because of adding like the one Alias who is also in this same tier. But yeah, Dyna's nuts. It's a crazy card. The set effect is also nuts. I don't think there's anything quite like it. Like it Raigekis your opponent's field, really the whole field, but usually you're down bad if you're setting it Fossil Dyna instead of summoning it.
Yeah, Fossil Dyna is one of the best like blowout like comeback monsters in the format, I would say, because there's very little things that actually effectively deal with it. Like you're not normally facing down like a Stardust with a set Fossil Dyna. Like normally it's like you're playing against Vayu or like frogs and they got you dupe blocked out of the universe and maybe they don't have a Monarch. Like you just need something to go your way just once at least. And like sometimes when Fossil Dyna flips up, it's like an Exodia. Like it like evens the game state very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's really good. It also catches frogs off guard and it can break a dupe block. And then that guaranteed damage thing, where you could then normal summon after that. It's really good. Fossil Dyna, all of its effects are really good. Okay, let's get some more stuff in A tier. So Shura, A tier monster. And I know a lot of people probably are staring at this like, I'm surprised Shura's on here. So Flamvel Fire Dog is not on this list at all. And that's because as of right now, Flamvel is still just highly underrepresented in Edison format. I would not say that Flamvel is one of the top decks by any stretch of the imagination, whereas Blackwings is. You definitely will play against. Shura will be summoned on you multiple times in any fucking tournament in Edison format. You have to be ready for Shura. And I think that just because Shura is such a impactful card in the format, a lot of decks have to be built with that in mind, that monster's stats matter a lot. Like, does this monster lose to Shura? Okay, if it does, is it worth playing if it's going to lose to Shura? And then let's get into his effect. So when he kills a monster in battle, you know what it does. It summons Value, summons Kalut, summons Gale. And that is actually crazy because a lot of times, so it's a +2 when Shura beats a monster in battle. And if you don't follow my math, it's very simple. Shura beats a monster in battle, that's a +1. And that's every time you beat a monster in battle in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. Unless, of course, that monster happens to be something that replaces itself. But if it's not, it's a straight up +1 right there. So +1 if you beat a monster in battle. And then it +1s again when it summons something from the deck. Even if they just summon Value and attack you with Value, like until they synchro with that Value, they're still now up 2 cards technically. You lost a card and they went up a card off of 1 Shura attack. So a lot of games against Blackwings come down to like, did Shura resolve? And if it did, the game just falls so out of whack. On top of the random thing where it negates the effect, so like Value is a real tuner off of it, that's super relevant as well. It makes Shura into a 1-card Catastor or Android. It also does something that I think is super relevant for Blackwing specifically, where Blizzard, like, you want Shura in the graveyard for Blizzard later on. And so when Shura gets off an attack, it gets the Value or the Gale that then will synchro immediately to put the Shura in the graveyard to be used for every Blizzard for the rest of the game. And so like that whole interaction I just said is very relevant, and Shura facilitates all of this. Like, it makes the Blizzards broken. It makes Kaluts are insane with Shura. Like, everything about it is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with Shura, and I guess that's like where some people would come with like the comparison of like Fire Dog, right? Because they do a similar thing.
Yeah.
I think the main difference that sets the power level of Shura way further than Flamevell than it ever will be, honestly, even if they make tomorrow they come with the most optimal perfect Flamevell list.
Yeah.
I think the difference is that Shura cohesively puts the whole Blackwing strategy all together in a nice bow. It sets up the Icarus attack engine. It sets up Blizzard engine.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It sets
Icarus
up
attack.
your powerful synchros. Like,
Dark Arm is basically pushed out because of this card too. Like, you can get 3 darks off of just 1 Shura attack go through. You get Shura comes out, attacks, brings out either Gale or Value. You synchro for Catastor or synchro for Armor Master, either one, and then you have 3 darks right there. Like, you have 3 darks just in rotation from 1 Shura attack getting through.
Yeah, and it's just like the limited range of what Fire Dog can do because it can only make 8s. Like, sometimes making the 8 isn't that great, and like because
I don't think 8-star synchros are good in Edison format outside of Dark and Dragon and the occasional Stardust. Typically, the best synchros in Edison format are going to be Brio, Goyo, so 6 stars, and then the occasional like Black Rose Dragon is insane as well. But other than that, 8-star synchros in Edison format specifically are very mid. Darken does something basically where it goes plus on summon, which makes it a lot better than a lot of the other ones. And then Stardust in certain cases when you know they have Rai-Oh or something, Stardust is the same way. But for the most part, like 8-star synchros are nothing crazy. They're very just mid in Edison format. And so Flamevell Fire Dog making 8 stars is like, okay, like that's fine. Like these are, they're not crazy broken.
With the same flexibility of like how Shura can let you summon, modulated things where you can go a 5 or a 7.
Yeah.
Or not even that, where you're just like, okay, well, I don't want to Icarus attack a Shura away. I'm going to Icarus attack this Vayu now after it got in for 800.
It's also a lot of damage. Like just to be clear, it's, Shura can attack and then it brings out a monster. It can bring out the same exact attack stat as what Fire Dog brings out, which is 1400 because Magician's 1400 as well. But then there's also the whole, like, when you start adding Kalut into the equation and everything that goes along with that, leaving the monster in attack mode blatantly so that like they come at you now and now you're like, all right, I'm just going to Kalut you. Everything about it is just nuts. Like there's no, there's randomly there is a Kalut for the Flamevell deck, but it's not good. It's like called Flamevell Baby or something like that. But it only gives them 400 attack. So it's just everything supporting the Flamevell engine is just worse than everything supporting the Blackwing engine. So Shura is just going to be higher.
That is wild. I've never heard of that card before until now.
Yeah, did you look it up or something?
Yeah, I was just like, you're making that up.
No, I'm not. It's a very real thing. It's just not very good.
That's a fake card.
Yeah, it's not very good. That's the reality of it. It's just not very good.
All right.
All right.
Next one.
Yeah. All right. So let's. I'm gonna put Rescue Cat So when I talk to James Ark, he actually has this in like top 5 normal summons. I don't think Rescue Cat is top 5 because I don't think that Rescue Cat is in any of the best decks in the format is the thing. So I think Rescue Cat is it's still going to be in the S tiers, but S minus is where I will put this. I think that this is like, you could put it at the top of like S minus or whatever, and that's fine. But Rescue Cat, the problem for me is that typically you're playing a deck with Airbellum, which is like it's not a great normal summon, to be honest, right?
I've
Like,
never been excited. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I draw Airbellum in my opening hand. I'm like, it's kind of annoying. So the cards that you have to play, and don't get me wrong, Diva, you got to play Gilman. So it's not like I don't want to go crazy here, but at the same time, like Diva is a water monster, and that goes into Miracle Fusion, which is like the best card in the format at this point, and like so many things. Whereas Cat is either played in fucking Glad Beast, which is just unplayable actually, or it's played in Cat decks, which is annoying that they even can call it that because it's fucking one card in your entire deck. And you know how I feel about summon Cat
Unsearchable
good.
one card.
Yeah, like be for real. But Cat, don't get me wrong, like when it resolves, it is a very, very powerful effect. But I think the fact that it's a essentially unsearchable one of, and sure, you can argue like, oh, Summoner Monk and all that stuff, but whatever. The cards you have to play to facilitate it, like Airbellum, I'm not a fan of. And I see people playing like Black Panther sometimes, Neospatian guy. Ryko is fine. Obviously, Ryko is an S tier, just like regular S tier. But I don't think Cat is top 5 normal summons in the format. I think that literally Stratos, Substitute, Diva, Lonefire, Swap Frog, Hamster. I think that all of these are just better than Cat to me.
Yep. I would say also there are some exclusions to some of the ones in S tier that fall in the same definition. But if you think about it as well, for how powerful Rescue Cat is in terms of it's not as powerful as like the high end S tier, it doesn't really make up for that lack of power in like its what's the word I'm looking for? It's way of mitigating like a lot of the popular cards of the format. I guess you could say it's sustainability. Like the monsters it brings out can get bottomless. It can get oppressioned. Everything of that regard. Like if it was like game ending, like rescued, like if we were like Dino Rabbit, where it's like it's game ending if this resolves, then like I think Rescue Cat could be in the bigger argument where it's like, okay, well, you can bottomless, you can oppression everything, but if it goes off, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think personally when Rescue Cat resolves, even more than half of the games that it resolves, I don't think it's actually game ending.
It's not. I was going to agree with you 100% with that. Yeah, a Rescue Cat is not game ending. It can be, of course, but anything can be game ending. But I think a lot of the times Rescue Cat kind of resolves, and it's like, all right, well, that's the end of that. Like, whatever happened, and now we're just playing in the post Rescue Cat game state. And whether your opponent's uppercard or not is fine. A lot of times, like, the fear is, double Airbellum. But if they do double Airbellum, those Airbellums just die on the end phase. So you lost 2 cards, they lost 1. So I've had people do that where they just get greedy to attack my hand. And it's like, okay, you took 2 cards out of my hand, but that was all you did during your turn. And you
played your deck's card.
Yes,
like your deck's card's gone now. So it's like now you're playing just your Hamster Ryko deck that doesn't really have like a high-end ceiling, like explosive card anymore all of a sudden.
Agreed. Okay. Phantom of Chaos, B tier. So this card, it could potentially be higher. We and Stango talked about this before the call, but this could potentially be higher. This is a card that has, I'm going to say this word again, has a lot of potential, and you're seeing it. James Ark's new like evil hero Nerlaris deck, the Nerlaris deck that came out for European Nationals, that won the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament with Vayus and Soroko and stuff. That Phantom of Chaos deck is really good. And then the classic Nerlaris deck also. I think that Phantom of Chaos has a lot of potential in Edison format. I don't think that we fully figured out all of the decks that it could go in. I don't know if all of them are even built yet, but I think Phantom of Chaos is very, very strong, which is why it's include, like, again, everything on this entire list, even if it's in B tier, I still think it's a decent card, right? Like, that is the point, is that these are all of the good normal summons in Edison format, and we're just kind of like choosing which ones are higher, because obviously something has to be better than another thing. But yeah, Phantom of Chaos, not to go too crazy on it, but yeah, I think it's a solid B tier. And I would say, go ahead. You want to go on Phantom of Chaos? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I think I agree with a lot of the point that I think Phantom of Chaos's potential has not been fully realized. Like, the fact that it just can copy any effect monster, no restriction whatsoever, is like kind of insane. Like Dark Arm at home is still Dark Arm.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I think just so many of the things, like it can attack over monsters for some reason. Like it can just get really big and do broken effects and also beat over a monster all in that same turn. Like even on the crackback, if it's going to be 0 attack, like a good Phantom of Chaos postured in a good position for it, like can be just enough. It doesn't matter if they get like essentially a direct attack over your Phantom of Chaos next turn. If one good Phantom of Chaos resolution happens, things are looking good. It was actually funny when James was playing in the tournament. Me and Frazier were counting. We were like, "Yo, he had more than half of his graveyard out the Christie on the field with this."
Yes, that shit was wild.
Literally, he had like 6 monsters. Like he literally has 5 monsters in his graveyard right now that all out Christia, and in a good way too.
Yeah,
like this is
crazy. Interesting toolbox like effect. You turn your graveyard into a toolbox, which is something that not many things do in the way Phantom of Chaos does it. Like usually things do it in a very narrow way. So Miracle Fusion is like, oh, I'm only going for the water and the heroes. Debris Dragon is only going for specifically monsters with this much attack or less, and it can only make dragons. And then like Junk Synchro, I'm only going for 2 stars or less. But Phantom says you can remove anything essentially. Like you can banish basically anything for it, and it will copy it. So like all of your monsters in grave are basically a toolbox for Phantom of Chaos. It's a very, very strong card. And I just think that we haven't fully tapped into its potential. So I'm reluctant to put it any higher right now. Okay. So I want to do these two. I think that these two, it's hard to say like which one is better than the other. I think that these are both absurd cards. They could even be S tier arguably. They enable a lot of powerful things. In fact, you know what? I'll move these up to S. These are S tier cards.
I would agree that they're S. I know when we were discussing initially, you felt that because Graffer has the versatility of being a special summon as well, that you felt that he was a little bit better.
Yep.
And when you gave that point, I kind of agree with it because I think that plays into a lot of why Graffer is a really good card.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think Armageddonite is nice for a lot of the things where, you know, he fixes the one dark that's not in the
graveyard. You need just 1 dark, or you need just the other half of the Vayu Soroko engrave.
Yeah.
You need just Plague Spreader engrave, stuff like that.
Yeah, versus with like Graffer, he does a lot of what Armageddonite does as well, but he has the, additional condition with it where he can output a lot of damage at the same time with setup. Yeah, I mean, special summon Graffer is a very scary thing because they haven't used their normal summon. So like Diva Hero, I think a True Heroes build is really, really strong because he plays the Graffer. And what that does is it fixes all of your double malicious hands. So if you draw double malicious, all you need is a Graffer now to pitch one of the malicious and put Plague Spreader in the grave. He does it a lot. It's one of the best plays in that deck. But also just special summoning Graffer, discarding malicious, and you could use priority to banish malicious and summon it to play around Crow. That interaction's insane. Then if you have a Diva, you now have a Graffer on the field and you can get the malicious on the field, so you can go into a level 6 and a level 8 and you haven't played Miracle Fusion yet. Like I'm getting hot and bothered thinking about the plays. These are all Graffer plays I'm talking about. And then this is outside of, we haven't even gotten to what it does in Value Turbo and even like hybrid Blackwings and what it does in the Dark Creator decks, the Phantom of Chaos decks. Like Graffer is fucking... Yeah, and you can search it off of Rhoda for some reason, even though he should probably be a fiend or something like that. But that's Graffer is nuts, okay? Graffer's absolutely unhinged, broken. Also, why is he 16 defense? Why is he so beefy and strong? Like, I just don't understand why he's also buff at the same time. Yeah, he's randomly big. But yeah, Graffer is unhinged, broken. I think that Graffer is objectively better than Armageddonite, but I do think that Armageddonite is right behind him. So I consider these two, like wherever you put one, I feel like you should put the other. Armageddonite has his own benefits. It gets on the bottomless. We already said that it corrects graveyards that just need 1 dark. But other than that, like, but yeah, you know why Armageddonite's good at this point. I think that we all kind of have it, down pat. Like this card is insane because, you can get it off a tomato and then it still gets its effect, and you could call it a haunted it and it gets its effect. Like at one point I think Armageddonite got banned in actual Yu-Gi-Oh because he was so fucking ridiculous. But yeah, and they're both at 1. Oh, so it's like modern. Oh, that's good. So yeah, they're both limited right now. Okay, all right. So well, there you go. We often say if you follow along with our adventures of everything Yu-Gi-Oh, like usually cards that are touched in Modern right now that are in Edison format are typically not okay.
Yeah.
Substitute.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, them being at 1, I think it's for a very good reason. I think, honestly, the only reason that I think a universe where maybe Edison has more consistency tools, where like if we saw Powder Duality and like a lot of other just deck consistency tools, if we were to just throw those in Edison format, I think these two would be easily like S+ tier, because you just be playing them all the time.
Yes,
there are just be setting up your graveyard with broken things.
There are formats where these cards become FTKs, like actual 2018, I believe it was. But Summoning Armageddonite was an FTK, and that's why I think that at a point it just got taken out of the format. Like I think it got straight up banned at one point. So these cards are broken, but in the context of Edison, they're still broken. They're very, very good cards. All right, I want to get Soroko out here, and we'll also get Gale out here. So these are S-. So I'll start with Soroko. This card is an S tier, or S-. I should say this card is an S- tier because of the format. So if you look at Soroko, even just reading its effect is actually absurd. It's a normal summon monster with 2000 attack, which is in 2010, in 2010 context, that is actually ridiculous. But even above that, the pump effect of it is really strong. The synergy with value is really strong. All of those things are great. But I think what really pushes it over the edge is that in every tournament, you're going to play against Blackwings. And it's gotten so crazy that people have even sided Soroko because you're going to play against Blackwings. And not just Blackwings, but Value Turbo as well. And their best cards are obviously going to be things that Soroko can pump and gain all the attack from your opponent's monsters. So because of the format, Soroko is this high. I wouldn't say that like in a vacuum, if you just looked at Soroko by itself, it would be an S- tier card, because look at what is surrounding it. Like, oh yeah, like Rescue Cat and Debris Dragon and Junk and all that stuff. But when you consider the format, Soroko is easily with the best of the best monsters in the format, because summoning it against an Armwing is like, oh well, now I pump and I'm 4,300, so I can kill anything. Like I can kill anything on the field. It's insane what this card does. And then it's also a deck heavy target. I almost forgot.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was just like, and let's just give him one more set of flowers that this is the most consistent way to play one of the most broken side deck cards in all of the format.
Yes, you could set it too, which is random.
The easiest way to deck Debbie in the whole format. That's true. It's not okay, because if you're playing Soroko in your deck, you're also playing Vayu, which is also an easy way to set up Armwing. It's like there's actually so many stars aligned sort of thing with Soroko particularly that I think it's funny. It's less about him with his card text alone, as funny enough to say. It's like the format, the deck that you're playing, the sideboard cards, the other decks that are good in the format. Like it's
also the fact that decks like Diva Hero Beat are S tier decks, and decks that play like Stratos and stuff, they make his attack stat very valuable. Like him being 2000 to beat over Alias is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge deal. Just to force out interaction, because a lot of times they won't even make it to actual battle. But like, if you have a Soroko and you summon it against the Alias, you're going to force some interaction. You might force a Hero Blast, or not a Hero Blast. You might force a Gemini Spark, or an Honest, or a D Prisoner, or Bot. Like something is going to happen because your monster just has higher attack than the one on the other side of the field. It has higher attack than Alias and Stratos.
Yep.
Gale, on the other hand, it's a normal summon, but it also can be special summon. So everything that's like that is just broken. Like Graffer, that's why I think Graffer's a little bit better than Armageddon. Well, that's one of the reasons why I think Graffer's a little bit better than Armageddonite. Swap Frog has that same built-in thing where it's like, oh, I can also be special summon randomly. Gale, same thing. It can be special summon, but it's a normal summon. And the fact that it just straight up beats almost every monster in the format.
Relevant monster.
Yes, yeah, it's crazy.
It really does kill, like, I honestly want to say, like, it kills pretty much over like 60%, like a crazy number of the relevant monsters in the format. It kills a lot of fucking synchros.
Yes,
a lot
Brionic,
of them for no reason.
Stardust Dragon gets bopped by it for no. Catastor gets bopped by it. Android. These are the common ones too. These are the ones that you see like in the first couple turns. These are the summons, the synchros that you see come out. People like to summon Stardust to protect their back row and stuff like that. People like to summon Android just because they had Diva. People summon Catastor to deal with Fortress or whatever. Like Gale is
one
nuts.
of the most problematic monsters of the whole format, Absolute Zero.
Yes.
Can get bopped by Gale.
Yes. Crazy.
And that is the thing that you never can really get away with fighting against Absolute Zero, is that you usually will always like go minus in that interaction, but Gale can just straight up
One
just
for
go
one,
even.
yeah, and deal a little tiny bit of damage on top of it for just no reason at all. Also, this is all saying that without mentioning the fact this fucking thing's a tuner.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that.
It's
part
a fucking like for no reason at all. It's like if it wasn't a tuner, this card would still be nuts. The fact that it's a tuner, the fact that it's dark, the fact that it's a wing beast, the fact that it's 3 stars. So much it's searchable,
it's blizzardable.
It's like it gets its effect off the blizzard. You bring it out with Shura, you could attack over something, and then main phase 2 make an armor master. It's nuts. Gale is unhinged, and if it was at more than one, decks would actually be playing more than one of it. Also, Blackwings would just be nonsense, like more nonsense than they already are. But Gale, there was a format in 2009, Dark Strike Fighter format. Gale was at 3, I'm pretty sure, and it just made it where that entire format, Stardust was a bad card. Like Stardust was just a bad card because Gale was at 3. And
I just can't even imagine what that format was like.
Oh, you
like
just died.
That format is just like, why is it just summon Soroko, special 3 Gales, half 3 times, and then pump?
Yeah.
Like, why does that all happen? You know what I mean? Like, what in the actual fuck is going on? I think Gale, in terms of Edison format, is one of the best limited cards of the entire format.
It is so good. So many situations you're like, I'm really solid right now in my position, and then Gale comes down and you're like, fuck, that's the one card that I actually did not want him to have.
I just don't like fucking Snipe Hunter is at 1.
Is it really?
Yes, Snipe Hunter is at 1 and Gale is at fucking 1.
Oh,
like
so
the
weird.
Power discrepancy is fucking out of this world. Snipe Hunter gets fucking bottomless and you have to drop a card to not even guarantee destroy something.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't even know that Snipe Hunter was at 1. I know that it's picking up play, like more people are playing it in Dragon Turbo side decks now and stuff like that.
Yeah, right, because they always have a hand to just drop it all.
Yeah, they have that cards all the time. And just dropping White Stone gets you a blue out, so you get 2 shots with just 1 White Stone, which I like.
Yeah.
But back to
it's
Gale.
Just funny, like the overall power level, like you have this crazy ass tuner monster that kills anything that's 26 or lower.
Yeah.
Because it can just crash in the 26.
All the
fucking
monarchs.
Snipe Hunter,
like just all the
Snipe
monarchs.
Hunter can get bottomless and also have to drop a card for no reason. Like it's funny the ban list when you look at it sometimes, how it's just not
always
a little
correct.
silly.
Yeah. Also, Gale being 3 stars and a tuner makes Arcanite Magician a lot of time with cards like Gravekeeper Spy. So yeah, it's really, really strong. Speaking of Spy, I'm going to put Spy in A tier. I'm also going to put Thunder King Rai-Oh in A tier. So I think that both of these cards are solid. They don't see the most play at this point. I think that people, because the Hamster and Ryko Caius engine exists, like Spy is just a worse version of Hamster and Ryko's engine, because you have to play Descendant typically when you play Spy, and Descendant is way worse than drawing any of these two.
Either end of that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with it, is that I agree with you totally. It's just the weaker and brickier version of the Hamster Ryko Caius engine.
Right. It does have its strengths. 2000 is, it walls off Alias, it walls off Soroko and all that. But like, it doesn't make up for how much stronger Hamster and Ryko are. Also the fact that, this is milling your deck too, which is a big thing.
If you think about it as well, is that even though it kind of does the similar thing of like, I can get rid of a card on the field, you're losing your tempo and your field presence in the effort of doing that, versus like, if everything's going really well in the Hamster Ryko Caius world, like you have both a Hamster and a Ryko on your field after it's all said and done.
Yes.
Which is really, really fortunate if that happens for you.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And in terms of Thunder King Rai-Oh, right now I think this card has gotten a lot better because Dragon Turbo was so popular, I feel like. And even if it's not necessarily like the deck is more popular, there's more of a spotlight on it. And so Thunder King is one of the few cards that actually help to win that matchup. It stops them from searching with White Stone, which is huge. You can also negate Red Eye's Darkest Metal Dragon's effect you can negate its ability to summon itself. I guess technically that is, a card could be an effect monster just because of the way you can summon it. So technically, I guess, yeah. But anyway, because it's a built-in summon on Red Eyes, Thunder King can negate that, which is cool. It doesn't use the chain, so Thunder King can just negate it. And then Thunder King being 1900 and light, so honest and all that stuff, it's decent. It's decent against certain decks. If you have it turn 1, it can cut off like So I've seen it be sided going first against Hero Beat because they play all these E-calls and Stratos and stuff like that. And it can actually neuter that deck pretty hard.
Yeah. I think the biggest knock to Thunder King, of course, and it changes a little differently in future formats where Thunder King is good, but I think the biggest knock for it in Edison is that a lot of decks are really fast that you're trying to Thunder King against.
Yes, that's the
And
thing.
it's not a good enough card where it's like, okay, I summoned it this turn after you did all your bullshit. It's not impactful anymore
Yeah, it's really bad
the
against
damage has already been done.
Yeah, if they already searched a couple times, they already played their E-call, they already summoned Stratos. For the rest of the game now, Thunder King's not doing that much against. In fact, it's probably just going to be Hero Blast food, if anything. So
yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with Thunder King is that if it's too late, if it comes too late into the game, like you don't draw turn one, whatever it may be, against certain decks, like it's a very non-problem card.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those floodgates that you need to stick turn one for it to be effective at all.
Yep. I agree with that take. That's a very good take too. Okay, in that same vein, I'm going to put Grammole in A tier. So I think Grammole is a pretty decent card. Here's the thing. So the positives, it outs Absolute Zero as a 1 for, well, it's actually a +1 at outs Absolute Zero. So outs Absolute Zero, unless you have something else on the field, of course. Situations matter. But if you don't have anything else on the field in terms of monsters besides the Grammole, you can go +1 on Absolute Zero. And I don't know of any cards that really can say that with Absolute Zero. So that's really strong. Yeah, like think about it, right?
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Not at all.
So Grammole's fantastic against Absolute Zero, and Absolute Zero happens to be pretty much the most popular extra deck monster in the format right now. So that's great. And when you're winning the game, Grammole is very, very good. However, the other side of it is when you are either not winning the game or you're kind of in that you and your opponent are battling for who's winning the game. Grammole can be very fucking mid in those situations. It can also just be flat out bad. There are times when people summon Grammole out there, assuming that whatever their opponent summons, they'll just bounce it. And that could put you in some fucking awkward situations because then they start doing things like, I'm going to summon Stratos against this. I had a guy, we were playing someone's deck, me and you, on Mastering the People episode. We had a guy summon an Armageddon Knight against us when we had a Grammole out there. And I was like, oh, that's so annoying. Because like, I'm obviously not just going to let the Grammole die, but like bouncing this Armageddon Knight is also not good. So there are situations where Grammole is just not the best. And I think it's solid, right? Which is, again, everything on this list is going to be a solid card overall. But like in losing situations or in those battling for who's winning situations, Grammole is just very mid.
Yeah, the biggest problem with Grammole is it's too narrow in what it does. It's excellent removal for some of the problem cards of the format, but we're still in a format where normal summons are, heavily what your play is every turn.
Yeah.
Special summons are super, super rare overall, like in terms of consistently getting them out. So a lot of the times when it's just like your only answer to things is like Grammole bounce and you don't have other things, like that's all he does. And just as you said, there's two sides of the coin. Sometimes the Grammole is a liability where it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to set your monster now I'm just going to normal summon Grammole. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to summon something for value.
Yeah.
And then Grammole doesn't bring you value anymore at that point. I'm now using your resources to like bolster up mine.
Yeah, and it's also awkward when your opponent has an established field of more than one monster. You have Grammole, and neither one of them.
That's so bad.
Yeah, and neither one of them are extra deck. So a common one is just Stratos and Alias sitting out there, and you're fucking staring at both of those monsters. Like, what am I actually like? Are you really going to summon Grammole and bounce Alias to their hand? Cool. Next turn, summon Alias again. Like, what? This is all my deck does. I don't. You didn't stop anything. Like, this is all I was doing anyway with my deck. So yeah, Grammole. It's certainly good, especially against all of the extra deck monsters in the format. But at the same time, it does have its downside, which is why we would not put it on the same level as like, Gale or Soroko for context of the format or anything else you see in like the S tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one where this kind of started, in a way, this kind of started the whole video. But Gearframe, I'm putting this in S- tier. And I want to make it very clear that there is a big distinction between Stratos and Gearframe, which is why I'm putting it in S- tier. I also think that when you're done listening to what I'm going to say about Gearframe, I think it all makes sense. But Gearframe searches Machina Fortress. That's like its number one search target. And that is cool and all. And people consider it to be like, oh, it's a Stratos because they both have 1800 and they both go +1. But it's really only a +1 in math alone and not actually in the way games play out. And what I mean by that is this. Machina Fortress is a liability card pretty much in every real game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is weak to every single trap in Edison format. So 2 things. You have to summon Fortress at the cost of another card, which means that when you discard a card and then summon Fortress as part of it too, if they bottomless or deprison or torrential or mirror force it or anything happens to the fortress, right? Every oppression, every single trap is good against it, and even some spells or whatever. But like, because every single trap is so good against fortress, it makes it where the +1 that you gain when you summoned Machina Gearframe goes away really quickly when you pitch 2 cards to summon fortress from the grave. And like, oh, you went +1, but then you immediately lost that +1 on the summon of fortress. Now, where Machina Gearframe is good is when you already have a fortress in the grave and you go Gearframe, search force, discard force, bring back fortress or whatever. That's cute and that's fine, but that isn't how games always play out. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very, contextual game. You always have to add context to everything. So Stratos searches many different things, right? Like if you look at Hero Frogs as an example, Infernal Prodigy, Alias, Malicious Edge, Ocean, these are all different. They all have different values to what they do when you search them. Like I'm searching Malicious Edge because I don't have a tribute monster. I'm searching Infernal Project because I don't have Treeborn access. So if you clear my Stratos, I still have a way to tribute summon. I'm searching Ocean because it's a water monster and it goes perfectly well with Miracle Fusion and it goes well with Swap Frog in my hand. And then I'm searching Alias because I want beatdown potential for the fact that you might summon a Fossil Dyna inside that game or whatever. So there's all these different reasons why you search these monsters. Whereas Gearframe, what is it going to search every time? It's going to be this very narrow thing that it searches pretty much every single time. And that thing that you're searching, people don't really think about it. Like you're searching Fortress, which the only way to summon Fortress out of your hand is to discard another card. So it's always going to be 2 cards coming out of your hand to summon a Fortress from your hand. That's just how that works. Like there's no way around that part.
Let's also talk about the same thing that I was going on and on and on about the whole hero engine, is that once Gearframe's left the field, it serves no purpose any longer at all. It doesn't do anything in the graveyard at all.
Yeah.
Even if you play Call the Haunted.
Yeah, Stratos actually gets effect from that, which is
at
wild.
all.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference maker, is that not only does Stratos have the versatility of being able to search all these really flexible options, and also having overall a bigger impact secondary ability than Gearframe. Like Gearframe attached to Fortress to attack into a Mirror Force is cool, but Deprison's also still in this format.
Yep. And, and I just watched that happen last night. I was just watching a duel last night, and that exact situation happened where the guy was thinking about should he equip or not. He was up against one back row. He decided to equip, and it was Deprison. And like obviously, he decided, oh, I'm going to play around Mirror Force, and it was Deprison. And you could argue, oh, well, there's more deep, whatever. Like you get the idea, but that exact situation is annoying because Deprison is the most played card in the format.
There's merit in the argument because just like how Gearframe needs Fortress on the field to do its secondary effect, Stratos needs another hero on the field. So you still need 2 cards on either side of the fence.
Right.
And it's just at the end of the day, Stratos overall cohesively moves the engine forward because it does things in the graveyard even after it's done its really impactful thing on the field.
Yeah, and I think we're understating by just saying it does things in the graveyard. It does the best thing in the format right now, which is Miracle Fusion. Like that fucking card is absolutely unhinged, outrageous, so meta defining that the fact that Stratos is a hero and it searches more heroes and then it goes to grave and it's a fodder for Miracle Fusion is we're understating by saying it does things from the graveyard. Like I just want to make it very clear that Edison format at this point is a very Miracle Fusion defined format. Everybody who plays this format now thinks about Miracle Fusion when building their deck, when playing against an opponent. Like you have to consider that for the rest of the time we're going to be playing this format. Miracle Fusion is that ridiculous. So yeah, Gearframe, it is a +1. Mathematically, like you definitely do have 7 cards turn 1 when you summon it turn 1 and all that. But then if you think about it, at any point when you summon that Fortress, that +1 goes away. And if you never do it, I'm fine with that too, because then you just have a +1 only in theory. Like it never got used, which is fine for me, the opponent, watching you hold a Fortress in your hand. So it's like, yes, +1, but also no, because it's also just going to be a minus whenever you decide to get it out of your hand.
Nothing like our daddy Stratos.
Yes.
He's still the top dog.
Yeah. Stratos is top dog, and by a good margin, because heroes are just intrinsically better than the whole Gearframe machine package in Edison. So yeah, I just want to make it clear.
You want to talk about Goblin Zombie?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you tier Goblin Zombie. Where do you want to put this thing? Because I don't have a very high opinion of zombies anymore. I do think that it's in the S tiers for sure, because it's still just like it makes the entire zombie.
Here's what I'm saying, right?
Okay, I'm here. You are.
In the spirit of Goblin Zombie, okay.
Yep.
It has the same problem as the recruiters and the Sangan, where it's like
it does.
In some instances, you need your opponent to interact with your Goblin Zombie in some way. And it even has a bigger negative of that, where sometimes you don't want them to do that because you actually want the Goblin Zombie to be on the field to make a play.
Yeah, to make the Caius, the Plague Spreader, the Diva all playable. Yeah.
But because of how strong Goblin Zombie is, it puts so much pressure on your opponent to act. If your opponent doesn't act into a known Goblin Zombie on the field, there's so many things that can go wrong. Caius, Diva, Plague, just those plays alone are what, honestly, in my opinion, is the only reason that Zombies is even a viable deck. Because I think overall Zombies is really weak to side deck cards. It's weak to a lot of the main deck meta right now.
Yep.
And it's also overall a way slower deck in terms of like tempo. Like it plays very defensively, but not in a great way like Frogs.
Yeah.
But what solely makes Zombies alone viable, in my opinion, is Goblin Zombie, because it searches all parts of the deck, and Goblin Zombie demands an answer when he's on the field.
Yeah.
You cannot leave a Goblin Zombie on the field and just be all sweet on it. Like, oh, it's just a Goblin Zombie. What's the worst thing that can happen?
The worst.
Yes, like Goblin Zombie's not sweet. You cannot leave Goblin Zombie on the field like he's nothing.
No, that's facts. Goblin Zombie's nuts. So where do you want to put it?
I am honestly I'm honestly in feeling like S-, but I could really argue for S tier. I'm not gonna lie.
So we'll put it at the top. We'll put it at the top of S-, because I feel strong S- about it, because again, my opinion of Zombies right now is just not very high. Like, I know the deck is still a good deck.
Same as well. Yep.
Yeah, it's still a good deck, but I think that it plays so slow and so defensive in a format that now has, Dragon Turbo and Frogs and all these other decks that are just trying to go really fast, and you're just hoping that, I hope they attack into my recruiter deck is going to get there, and it's just not as good. So, Goblin Zombie not being once per turn is crazy. It's definitely broken, but in terms of normal summons, there's this little mini game with the zombie deck. When you play against zombies, you have this fucking mini game where it's like, okay, he set a monster. If it's a recruiter, I do not want to attack it. If it's tomato or pyramid turtle, I don't want to attack it. But if it's Goblin Zombie, I do want to attack it, because I don't want it to sit on the field, because Goblin Zombie on the field is insane. So it's like, that whole mini game makes the zombie deck very scary. It makes Goblin Zombie very good. But at the end of the day, I don't think that where Edison is going right now, that it's as strong as it used to be before the decks that are currently S tier got as refined as they are.
I think the trajectory of Zombies, even with how strong Goblin Zombie is, have just been a little bit on the downward trend, because it's the meta and the way people are playing the format, like the overall meta game of, player tendencies, it's moving away from a lot of the, I guess, traps or like gameplay situations that Zombies really prefer, like attacking into recruiters or being a really set monster heavy format, where like a lot more decks were playing a lot more Rycos.
Yep.
And
Hamster overall is a better set than Goblin Zombie. Like, for where Edison is right now, I'd rather have a set Hamster, because now I don't care. For the most part, I don't care if you attack my Hamster or not. When it flips, it's getting a +1 wherever. If you attack it, +1. If you don't attack it, flip it and get +1, and then I contribute for Caius. Like, it doesn't really matter. So Hamster overall is just like a better card, I would say, because it doesn't really need anything to happen. It's just like, this is going to do what it does all the time.
And that's kind of more of the part where I was saying, where it's like it needs the opponent to engage with it in some way.
Yeah.
In a lot of instances, but
and then also not engage with it in other times, because it's like, I need it on the field this time.
Yeah, it's very hand dependent. Like, depending on your hand, it's just like, I don't want you to touch my Goblin Zombie even a little bit, because I got the fucking nuts.
Yep.
I think that's another plus to it as well, is that like that graveyard value. It's one of the best like cards in the graveyard, period, because it searches Mizuki and brings out another Goblin Zombie or brings out a Plague, and like it just makes more and more synchro plays and does more and more searching. I think that's one of the cool things about it as well, is that it gets more value when it's in the grave.
Yeah, I like that.
Additionally.
Okay, so Kawaki Mero Drago, I'm going to put at the top of A tier. So because Dragon Turbo has had a fantastic year, and Dragons in general, actually, because Fitz won a tournament this year with Dragons, with Trap Dragons or whatever. This card is really good. I remember dying to Fitz in round 4, I think it was. And I fully had Battle Fader, I'm pretty sure. Like, if you watched the replay from that, I fully had Battle Fader or Gores or something. I had something to not die, and he summoned this, plus Red Eyes, plus Prime Material, I think, in one turn and killed me. And I was like, damn, I did not expect to die that game where I was playing naked, but I did. And it was because of this card. And I don't think anything else really does what this thing does. So it's a utility monster, though. It's not good in every situation. It's not good against everything. But when it's good, it's great. So it's an A tier. A lot of now I'm looking at A tiers, like a lot of your utility things, like DD Wars, like utility, Shining Angel, get my Christia off, Shura, facilitate my whole Blackwing deck, get my value and all that stuff. Spy utility, but not as good as like the Hamster Ryko engine. Thunder King also utility, just against it's like what light decks want. Against
he's like more floodgate than utility, I would say. Like he's just more of a stun card.
Yeah. But it's like in the decks that play the Thunder King and the decks that side it or play it, he's just like not a part of the engine though. He's just a utility part. That's why, like, yes, two things can be true. Definitely a floodgate monster for sure. So is Drago. Like they're both floodgates, but Drago and Thunder King have this thing where, okay, so now I'm going for game. I want the utility of you can't use Gores, right? And that's kind of what I mean by calling it utility.
I see what you mean.
Like if we had to categorize all of these cards, I would put utility and floodgate on both of them. That's kind of how I'm coming with it. They both floodgate. They both have this utility thing going on. They're not the main part of any deck that they're in. Like you're not playing your deck for Thunder King. You're also not playing your deck for Drago. But because you have these cards in those respective decks, you're like, this is a nice thing that I can throw out, and it'll just like push my game state.
Yeah, because your most winning game state is like you pretty much almost never want to be playing a game state where you're playing Drago beatdown, because albeit against some situations, like it's kind of unfair, like not being able to special summon light or dark.
Yes.
Makes it very hard to make the synchro monsters that easily out Drago.
Yeah, it just makes it hard to play in general. Like even attack, I saw a face down Hamster get attacked by Drago, and I was like, that sucks. And you can't even get Ryko.
Yeah. Can't even get Rai-Oh. Yeah.
And it beats the Hamster too. It doesn't even bounce off of it. Like it straight up beats the Hamster and you get nothing. So it's a straight up +1 on Hamster.
It's like Drago's tiering is actually just weird because it's pretty much never used as a normal summon, literally ever.
Yeah, it's very rare that it is used as a normal summon, but it does happen. I wouldn't say it's that rare, but it is rare.
I would say let's scratch rare. I would say that is like the bottom of its ceiling.
Yes.
Like that's like the absolute last situation you really want to be using your Drago.
Those
your
are
Drago
also
is like
the bad hands of the decks that would summon it normal summon. Like
yes.
It's kind of how we feel about Diva Hero Beat. If you turn one summon Diva, get Android, while that is a fine play, I definitely think it says a lot about your hand. Like I think if your hand had Stratos in it, you would have summoned Stratos.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about Drago. Is like if a deck summons Drago as its normal summon and passes or whatever, I think that your hand is kind of telling me it's not that strong. You're trying to slow me down because your hand is not that strong. So while I agree in a way with what you're saying, is like Drago typically is special summon, and when it is, it shit gets out of hand, and so the ceiling for it is really high, but then the floor of it is like whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited about this one.
Oh, I think this is easy. I think Card Trooper's S tier.
Yes, very easy.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to fuck around with Card Trooper at all. We're not going to play games with this monster. This card's insane. It crashes with Alias for a +1, which is nuts. It mills 3 immediately, which a lot of decks need, like Christia Sworn, I think, and Light Sworn also, and Value Turbo. It can get your Dark Arm live out of nowhere. It can get your Miracle Fusion live out of nowhere. You could put it in a lot of different decks. It's a machine, so it combos well with Mocking and Fortress. It's also a 3-star monster that is really low attack, so Debris Dragon can bring it back. And even though it negates effects, the cost is to mill, so Debris Dragon plus Card Trooper can mill 3. It's a fantastic card. Like everything, it beats over Fossil Dyna and other monsters that are annoying to you. The draw effect is also nice to have, just like as an added bonus. Like, oh, I also draw a card when this thing dies on my side of the field. That's fucking nice.
Yeah, let's just say it very plainly and simple. Card Trooper is one of the perfect normal summons
Yes,
in the format.
it really is.
Because you always get value no matter the outcome.
Yeah.
If you run into a D prison with an attack, you milled 3.
Yep.
Let's just say you're not insanely unlucky. You milled good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get the mill. Let's say you got the mill, you got to kill a monster, and they have to attack it. They can't let you mill again.
Right.
Like,
And
that's
if you
just
stop
not allowed
them,
to happen.
if you stop them from milling again, dear God, or I should say, if you stop them from killing your card trooper, you get to mill again, dear God.
Yeah, it's like it's like Swap Frog a lot in a way, where it's like outside of Solemn Judgment and Pulling the Rug, whatever. Outside of, just summon stopper cards, like Card Trooper, Swap Frog, they share a lot of their power overall because they are just the perfect normal summons. They always get value on their summon, no matter what.
Yeah, they're very, very good. Card Trooper's nuts. I also love how, and this is unintentional, but this is outside of the S plus tier, which I expect that there wouldn't be much in S plus tier because those are the best of the best. But this is like, look at how this scales down like this. Like, it just kind of nicely.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, I just like the way it actually worked itself out in a really organic way that looks cool to the eye visually and everything. But yeah, this is our tier list for Edison normal summons, the relevant ones, the main ones. Like, there are some things that we left off, like Pyramid Turtle, but if I had to put Pyramid Turtle on here, it would just be a B tier.
Do you want to put Arcus in S plus tier? Because once it goes in the graveyard, you can't target any Lightstorm monsters anymore.
So yes, Arcus, we forgot Arcus, but he would absolutely be an S plus tier for the simple fact that if you know, you know. But Arcus's real effect is like secret ability, is that his effect applies even while he's in your grave. So he's probably actually at the top of S plus tier. Like, he's probably the real best normal summon in the format.
Yeah, like literally fuck Stratos, fuck Substitute. I'm trying to Foolish Burial Arcus graveyard turn 1, then summon Garoth and just start 1850ing because they can't do shit.
Yeah.
All right? That's how I feel.
I also want to reiterate just real quick, so if you made it to the end of this video, that this list isn't technically in any particular order. Like, I didn't bother to make sure that every single thing is like, oh, this is higher than this, so therefore it falls closer to the S or whatever. That's not really how this works. I just put things in the tiers, and if you want to debate within the tier, that is your prerogative. I'm not doing that though. I do think that some things are like blatantly higher in the tier. Like, I might do one or what, like Diva, I think is, one of the absolute best things.
Goblin Zombie is like on the higher end of S minus.
Because it just enables an entire deck. So does Cat, it enables an entire deck, but other than that, like, I don't really care what's better out of fucking the Gadget Engine or like Sangan, right? Like, I actually do not care at all. So, and these two, we're going to have a whole discussion with James Ark about this, but I personally feel like it's kind of a tie, but maybe after talking about it, we might draw different conclusions on which one is better out of Stratos and Substitute. Again, I don't really care personally right now, but I could be swayed one way or the other.
Yep. If you're interested in what my take is, I think just based on, and obviously this is kind of like in the vacuum of I'm not really paying attention to like how other cards and new sets in newer formats like kind of change and mold the meta.
Yeah.
But when you look at the formats that both of these cards, because they do eventually hit the ban list, both of them, when both these cards hit the ban list, their decks fall off the face of the earth instantly.
Yeah.
Frogs are unplayable after FTK format because Substitute is no longer playable. So the Treeborn access and all the broken things you can do with Substitute, my God, are just completely out of here. Stratos, heroes fall flat on their face, off the face of the map. It's so funny that Stratos has been at 1 since what? Like 2007, 2006?
Is he still at 1 right now, though?
No. I'm talking about like
but even
to when he got changed to Edison format.
Right. Yeah, like 06 all the way up until whenever.
Yeah, whenever he got banned for the first time.
Yep.
Like, he was at 1 that entire time.
Yep. And heroes have been the best deck in multiple formats throughout those years while he was at 1.
Yeah. So from March 2007 to September 2013.
Wow.
2013 is when he got banned during Dragon Roller format.
Yeah. In which case
he was at 1 that entire time, and heroes fell off the absolute face of the earth. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, like March of 2013 heroes were playable, because that format was probably ridiculous. I don't even know what it is, but what I'll say with that is that heroes were always somewhat a viable rogue strategy in most formats that they weren't the best. Like you could play heroes in some way because Miracle Fusion, the fusion monsters were all decent, and Stratos was still a great normal
Dark Law
summon.
came out eventually and all that.
Yeah, Dark Law came out and everything like that. But it's just like those cards when they're not, if you Thanos snap them out of Edison, those two decks instantly fall apart. You can't play frogs and you can't play like heroes. Like Stratos adds just so much power to the deck.
Yeah, and consistency.
So does Substitute. Yep.
So yeah, that's Dingo's take on the argument. Check out again James Ark's channel to hear me and him discuss how we feel about those two S+ tier monsters, those S+ normal summons in the format. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will be reading all the comments. I typically reply to the bulk of them. And yeah, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.